culture is a living thing. Culture takes different shapes depending on the circumstances. Certain things may remain permanent, but other things can change. For example, in Buganda, I can't shake the hand of my mother-in-law, the mother of my wife. And my wife can't shake my father's hand, her father-in-law. But that started with Kabaka Murondo, you know, because Kabaka Murondo had an affair actually with his mother-in-law. And when he was, when his officials blamed him, he was remorseful, and he decreed that from now on, nobody in Buganda is going to shake even the hand of his mother-in-law. And many of those do's and don'ts regarding in-laws were started by Kabaka Murondo. But he's talking about, he's talking about marital propriety, really, if you examine it properly. Because, Kabaka Murondo was very young when he ascended the throne. And I think he got married when he was probably 15 or 14. And probably he married a 12-year-old girl or 13-year-old girl whose mother could have been 25, 26. She must have been young, the mother-in-law. But then, you see the immoral aspect of it, having an affair with your mother-in-law. And when you look at it on the surface, you may ask yourself, of what value is this? But when you go deep and you understand the origin of this particular norm, you realize how should I say, how disciplined actually he was, and how much discipline he wanted within the marriage setup, within the marriage institution. So, but before him, that practice wasn't there. And many other things. For example, up to the reign of Kabaka Mutesa I, the princesses were not getting married. The daughters of kings were not getting married. But marriage, marriage is an institution which has universal application to everybody, I guess, except where you were a Catholic priest or something like that. So, and the king changed that, Mutesa I, and he actually encouraged his officials to marry his daughters and his nieces and his women relatives who incidentally would get, affairs, privately, quietly, secretly, because probably the demands of nature. But then he changed that, you see. So culture is a living thing. And today we have, for example, Kabaka's sisters, they're married, so you see how good it is. So we can't say that culture is static because it's a living thing. Certain things are preserved because of the values that we realize from them. Other things could change depending on the circumstances. To be culturally grounded means that you appreciate those values that qualify one to be a Muganda. While we are human beings, we are still social animals, and social animals have characteristics which are relied on to categorize them. Because the clan system is one of the longest social systems in the world. In Buganda, if you go to the time of Kabaka Chintu, when Buganda, as we see it today, was crystallized, and when the clan system became part of our constitution, if you want, that's about 1,000 years. And this is how people have been identified for 1,000 years. What you do in your clan or what you can't do. Now, that is what defines you. And today, it's very important that people get to understand those mores, those values, those characteristics that define a Muganda, and when you talk in that line, I think the starting point should be the clan system. So we want young people to understand the clan system. Why is it relevant, for example? If they understand that, then they'll be well grounded, and you know, they will even love it the more. We are living in a global village, as it were. We are subject to the influence of so many other practices from all over the world. People follow what goes on in the States, in Europe, in China, everywhere, every day, in the palm of their hands, you know, on their phones, on their smartphones. They get to know about so many other things. They get to know about everything within, from other parts of Uganda, for example. It's very easy now. People leave. You'll find I was in Karamoja and I met Buganda in Moroto town. And the other day I was in Imbali and the Buganda there who've been influenced by the Bagisu culture. It happens. Even here within Buganda itself. You have people who have settled here from Rwanda, from all over the country, from all over the world. These are going to impact on the way we look at things. And it's not new, but is heightened now by the easy means of communication that we have these days. And that is one thing. Secondly, you know, the struggles people go through to survive, the daily struggles. If somebody came from Buddu, for example, and settled in Kampala and is trying to look for a job, probably someone has a family and is going to fend for them. The struggles sort of distract you from focusing on a number of cultural aspects, you know. Personal issues influence us a lot. If you're not settled where you are, all these are factors. There are also other factors, religion, for example. You'll find somebody is a Muslim and is going to drop certain cultural practices. Somebody is a saved person, is going to drop certain cultural practices. Somebody is, you know, religion as such. All these influence the attitude of especially young people to culture. The belief that culture means backwardness. A number of young people, when it comes to culture, they think that if you are culturally grounded, you cannot be modern, which is very false, of course. They say these are village issues, these are village matters, these are local. That man is local. I hear them say these things, but I think it is very wrong. I consider myself a very modern person, actually. But then I think I'm fairly grounded when it comes to cultural matters. So I think that's a misnomer. Because you can be modern, you can enjoy the modern things, the modern aspects of life, when you fully appreciate your cultural values. I don't see any contradiction. But that is where young people lose it. For example, among the Mutima clan, I can't get married to a woman of the Mutima clan. Does anyone think that I'm losing my personal freedom? Is that what they mean? I don't understand. All that I don't shake the hand of my mother-in-law, things we're talking about, I don't know. I don't understand the question. Because culture just sets, I think culture sets for a group of people characteristics by which they are identified. And you cannot, for example, say, I am a Catholic, but I don't want to get baptized because, you can't have it both ways. If you're a Catholic, then it's a must that you're going to go to church to get baptized. So if you're in Uganda, there are certain practices you must respect. I don't think that should be categorized as personal freedom. These are just characteristics that define us. And they're important everywhere you go. People have different things they value, certain practices they indulge in. That's what defines them. And I do not think that curtails personal freedoms. It's just where you belong. This is what you do. You know, there is a man who wanted to marry a woman of the same clan. They were both of the Ndiga clan. And the matter was taken to the High Court. And the judge said if they did it, it would be repugnant to the social order. And I applauded that judgment. Because you are both Baganda, and within the culture of the Baganda, you can't marry from within your clan. It's an abomination. It is repugnant to the social order. That's what the judge said, and I think it was very right. But then they could say this is our freedom. They said that they belonged to the clan of Jesus. They they were saved people, and they said with us Jesus is our all. I find that a little bit naive. I normally tell people that the world is going to be dominated by those who master ICT today, because ICT is the new gold, ICT is the new oil, ICT is the new uranium, whatever you want to define as a rare, expensive item or mineral. And in Buganda, we cannot keep up with the changing world unless we embrace ICT. We urge every clan, for example, to have, a digital presence, a digital footprint. We urge every clan to have a digital footprint. Every clan should have a website. Every clan should have all these platforms that we rely on these days. Now, you think about it. As I talk to you right now, we've got plenty of Baganda in Sweden, in Canada, in South Africa. When are they going to visit the Obutaka? Let's say members of the Njovu clan to which you belong. When are they going to go to Kambugu when they're in South Africa? I met some of members of Njovu clan when I was in Cape Town the other year. When are they going to go to Kambugu? When are they going to pay homage to the clan leader? If they can visit the website or these other social media platforms of the Njovu clan, then they will keep in touch. They will get to understand what the clan is about. So it is very, very important in the kingdom that we embrace ICT. Actually, the Minister for Administration is also the head of the Department of ICT. Actually, the first Deputy Katikiro. Because we believe that we must embrace it, bring it within our systems all the way. I don't know, in the next 10 to 20 years, I think everything will be digital in this world. And it will be a big, big mistake if we don't embrace ICT to ensure that our values can be accessed digitally. I think that's the best way to preserve them and promote our values. And we are on it, actually. A number of clans have already they already have a footprint, digital footprint. A number of clans have. But we want all of them. And we want every aspect of the kingdom to be to have digital embrace, to have digital embrace all around. It's very, very important. That's how the world is moving today. The economic well-being of the people is directly related to how much they embrace their culture incidentally. For example, we go to Batte, members of the Mutima clan, my clan. We go to pay homage, Okuramaga, every last Saturday of August. But how do you get to Batte? If you don't have the means, you must have a car. The car must be filled with fuel, petrol. You've got to eat. How are you going to do all these things when your income is dismal? So I always tell people that if we want to protect and promote our culture, we must focus on the economic well-being of the people to whom these cultures apply. Like I told you earlier, that the daily struggles will take you away from things you cherish. If you don't have money to feed your family, how are you going to go to Batte to pay homage to your clan head or your clan itself? You can't. It is very, very important that people are economically empowered for them to appreciate their cultural values. Every time we go to Batte, lots of money is spent, because we go and stay there the night. Some people stay in hotels. How are they going to manage it if they don't have money in their pockets? That's why it is important that the kingdom carries out economic empowerment programs. If we want everybody to appreciate our cultural values. It's directly related. Sheikh Mbogo used to say that the difference between a non-believer and poverty, he used to say that the difference is very small. That's what that cleric used to say. Because you see, he would preach that the things you need to do as a Muslim to practice your faith require you to have money. To go to Mecca, for example, to be clean, all these things, so that you pray 5 times a day. If you don't have water, how are you going to be clean? You know? So it used to amuse me, but it's relevant even to this discussion we're having with you. Even culture. If you look within most clans, many of the most active clan members are economically, okay. They've got some money to spare to go and participate in clan activities. So it is very, very relevant, directly related. It can be very, very tough. For example, people who are grounded in these cultural matters, the Kabaka was going to celebrate the coronation anniversary, the 2014 coronation anniversary in Maogola. And then these people came and said that these are the things you must do before the Kabaka goes to Maogola. If you don't carry out those things, they want you to carry out. They would say that the visit will not go well, And you've got to do some of these things. Culture is about what we call the intangibles. The intangibles, the mystique, is what actually gives weight to some of these values we talk about all the time. So, and you find that you've got to carry them out. At the coronation event, for example, you see people of the Chibe clan, Justice Chisache of the Supreme Court, I think now she's retired, belongs to that sub-clan that prepares food for the Kabaka, Chibe clan, and you've seen her on more than one occasion at coronation events participating in some of these cultural practices. But she's a judge of the Supreme Court. She was a judge of the Supreme Court. To ensure that these practices are carried out for educated people in the modern times, I think it's important. But it comes as a surprise to many. It comes as a surprise to many. These days we say that Buganda is conceived as a cooking pot. And it is seated on three cooking stones. One stone is comprised by the royals, from whom one prince is picked and made Kabaka. The second cooking stone, the clans, to which every Muganda belongs. And the third cooking stone are the officials, like myself, headed by the Katikiro, the non-hereditary leaders of Buganda, because clans are hereditary, so is the Kabaka. Now the non-hereditary, actually administrators of the kingdom. Those three are part of our cultural setup, if you want, from the days of Kabaka Chintu at least. The clans get legitimacy from the Kabaka, who is the Savataka. And the Kabaka is born, by a woman from any of the clans of Buganda, apart from the clan of the descendants of the royal family, Abodio Langira. This structure is knitted together. You cannot separate the clan from the Kabaka. And the officials, the administrators of the kingdom, like myself and the other officials, also belong to the clan. I think you can see the connectivity. For example, the Kabaka's mother is of the Manke clan, and then I am of the Mutima clan, and then everybody else belongs to a given clan, which is interconnected at the end of the day, all getting legitimacy from the Kabaka, who is also part of this this construct, this cultural construct, if you want. I think that's why we endure. If you are going to do away with the clans, you can create a lot of problems for the Buganda, but it's very difficult. And because that's the way of life. Actually, the clans determine our way of life. Without even mentioning it, think about it. Yesterday was a Sunday, and the other day was a Saturday. People are going for Kwanjula. The clan system is at work. People were going for the last funeral rites. The clan system was at work. People were getting married within Buganda. The clan system was at work. It's a way of life. People are getting buried. There is a businessman who died in an accident along Entebbe Road recently from Masaka. And they took the matter to court where he would be buried. And eventually they said, oh, the ancestral burial grounds shall be his resting place. That is the clan system at work. So it is part of our life. The kingdom doesn't exist in isolation. It is not some structure over the people. It is part of the people, actually. Part and parcel with the people. That's why it endures. In the next 20, 30 years, the Muganda should be well informed, because knowledge empowers you to manage the world. The Muganda 30 years from today should be well informed. That's why education is prioritized. The Muganda of 30 years from today should be economically viable, you know, because when you're economically viable, you can take care of your health, which is extremely important. Should be culturally grounded. With the advance of IT, there will be lots and lots of sources of information regarding our culture and systems and norms. They'll be easy to access from wherever anyone will be. So I think culturally people should be able to realize that our culture is our way of life, and they should be able to learn about it because of especially IT that exists today, which I'm sure 30 years from today will be in a very advanced stage. That's how I see Muganda 30 years from today. With a well-developed kingdom, you know, people enjoying their cultural mores wherever they may be. That's how I think Buganda will be. The first thing that every young person should know is to learn about our ways of life. This is what I tell young people everywhere I go. You cannot embrace what you don't understand. The way they take trouble to learn so many things on YouTube, on TikTok, on all these platforms, the young people should take trouble to learn about our ways of life. Why is this done like this? They should learn the origins of a number of these practices. I was talking about norms surrounding in-laws, and I was explaining why it was introduced by Kabaka Murondo. When you understand why it was introduced, it becomes easier to embrace because you appreciate the values behind it. So what they should do is to understand these value systems. They must take deliberate effort to learn about them. Some of us have been doing this pretty much all our lives, you know. To be able to understand some of these things, you've got to study them. You've got to take an active interest in learning them. But then, the world as it is today, you must also be able to, for example, you could be a doctor, you could be an engineer, you could be a farmer. Those could be the ambitions. How far you want to go, you should be hardworking and excelling within your profession or your practice. I think that should be a very good combination. And whenever I meet professionals who are keen on culture, I fall in love with them. Because that's wholesomeness. Because if you're a lawyer, you're practicing law, you are successful, you don't know nothing about your clan, your culture. What do you know about? What systems do you know about if you don't know about yours? So you know about the European ways of life? Do they appreciate you by knowing their ways of life? I don't think they do. The other day I was meeting young people, born in the UK. And I asked them whether, because when they speak like the English, because they were born there. But every one of them told me at some stage where they work, they asked them where they are from. When they say, I was born in London, I see. Were your parents from Jamaica? Just because of the color of their skin. So it's very important to understand about our values, our culture, our norms, our traditions. Then you couple that with whatever you're doing. You could be in business, you could be in some other profession, but you are very well grounded when you understand your value systems. And I think you are a wholesome person. That's how I describe them. That's how I did. How do you know about the British monarchy, for example, when you don't know about the monarchy from which you hail? It's a big contradiction. Actually, it is a big shame. It's a big shame. It has been an interesting journey because my colleagues and I have introduced a number of things which hopefully have changed the face of the kingdom, if you want. One, we have tried to unite the people within the kingdom. When it comes to kingdom matters, you'll be surprised at how ready every other Muganda is ready to participate, irrespective of the different political persuasions to which they subscribe. So, or the different religions to which people belong, or even ethnic groups. I've been to Bombo, and I was in Luwera, and I was very well received by the Nubians. They're always here. I've been to Maogola, and I meet Balalo, and they're very, very proud. They love the Kabaka. I've been, So unity, I think, regarding kingdom matters, has been realized to a great extent. But also the way the kingdom is run. We try to introduce modern systems, if you want, of running an institution like this kingdom. As you know, we have over 30 companies and organizations, how they are run, on modern management efforts, and how people get recruited into the civil service of the Kabaka's government, how we acquire assets, how we dispose of assets, how we build partnerships. I think the face of the kingdom has been a little bit changed in that aspect, and that's why I'm saying it's been interesting. Tough, of course. I know that's your next question. It's been very tough. But everything in life is tough until one dies. Everything is tough. I focus on my plate, and I work with everyone. What's on my plate are kingdom affairs, kingdom matters, and that's what I focus on. And I tell people, our aspirational pillars in Songa Sema Songe Town never change. So I'm not going to bend them because you belong to this political group or the other. Nope. And I think it helps. Everybody gets to know where you stand, and then we start from that standpoint. And I think it has served me well as the Katikiro. My biggest challenge was when the Kabaka was challenged health-wise. I think that was the biggest challenge. Yeah. I'm generally a calm person. I'm generally calm. I take time to think about situations, and I consult many people. It is rare to find me excited about situations. So that helps you to adopt practical solutions. Even when it comes to addressing these issues in public, I think it helps a bit to remain clear-headed when you are not excited. Somebody told me that when in that position where I am, you don't decide things when you are angry. You don't decide things when you are very happy. you decide things. You take choices when you are in sort of a neutral state of mind. I think Providence also plays its part all the time. I would be talking about law practice. I'll be talking about business. I love business, but of course, where I am, I've been restricted. But probably I'll be talking business because 25 years ago I was practicing law. I was practicing law. Probably that's what I'll be doing about, and I was doing lots of businesses. Probably that's what I would be doing. That would be Nelson Mandela. I think that would be Nelson Mandela. How do you endure the pain? How do you carry the weight of a nation? How do you remain humble? How do you remain humble? When the world is exalting you, how do you achieve that? You know? How do you forgive? How do you give up power? You know, after all that long period, how do you give up power? How do you remain relevant even when out of power? I think we'll be talking about such things. How do you, by the way, remain culturally grounded? Nelson Mandela was very, very culturally grounded. He was very, very proud of his, I think he was a royal of sorts. And he was very, actually Madiba is the title. He was very, very proud of it. And he would encourage people to call him Madiba. How do you be a man of the world, then at the same time you remain culturally grounded? How do you unite people? I think those are the kind of conversations we'll be having while we share a cup of coffee. Yes, and it would definitely be a cup of coffee, not tea. Probably I'll tell him to calm down. I'll tell him to calm down. I mean, look, the world has a lot of problems. They all can't be solved at a go. Even America itself has a lot of problems. And I think Americans can find solutions to these problems when they are calm, when they talk to each other. I think that's what I'll tell him, to calm down. Home. My home is my place of peace. I'm completely at peace when I'm home. Totally. Because the real me, now that the real me is inside my house. Here I've got to put up appearances, I suppose, for you guys. I've got to wear these ties and everything and be nice and whatever, talk, think about what I'm going to say and do. No, I'm total at peace when I'm inside my house, with my family. With my family. Even my friends bring me a lot of joy. It's very difficult to say this is my best friend. I've got many friends, incidentally. I don't know who is my best friend. I've got so many of them. Oh, the first friend I met in life, I think, was in P1. A man called Fred Mawande in Subuga. We were in P1. We are still in touch. But of course, we do not meet. I think at Makerere, Fred studied statistics. I studied law. We parted company in I think it was P4 or P3. He changed schools. His father started staying in Masaka town and he changed schools. Then after P7, I went to St. Andrew's College. He went to Bukalasa Seminary. He was trying to become a priest. He never made it. I went to St. Mary's College Subi for my A-levels, and then I think after Bukalasa, I joined Makerere University, and we did different courses. We were not in touch, but to this day, I smile when I think about him. Fred Mawande Nsubuga. Not Mawanda, Mawande Nsubuga. He, I think he's my longest friend. But now our paths don't meet that often. And I had to look for him when my eldest daughter was getting married, because I wanted Fred to attend the wedding. And he did attend the wedding. And I think I introduced him to the crowd. I told him, this is we were closest friends in P1. I don't know how the connection came, but it did come. His mother was a teacher in that school. So was my father. But his mother was teaching us in P1. She's one of the reasons I write with the right hand. Should be writing with the left hand. Yeah, but I've got many friends over time. I've friends in the schools where I went. I still have many of those people as my friends through the schools, through Makerere. In the working world, I've got many friends. And I've met friends even as Katikiro here, actually. Because, when you're at a certain level, certain things are going to hurt. And I've always known this. When you're in a public office, there are people who are negative. They exist in the world. Some of them are jealous of where you are, pure and simple. Others don't take the trouble to know why you are doing one or two, three things. Others are just doommongers, doommongers. They just see a bad thing in everything that is being done or said. They never expect anything good. So I've got a positive attitude. People say hurtful things. I always think, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We've got to forgive him. Because he simply doesn't know. And many times, the naysayers should be actually pitied. Because many of the times they're coming from a most uninformed position. And they want to give opinions all the time about things they know nothing about. That's why I'm like, I think we should be sorry for them. That's one. Secondly, I don't pass judgment easily. When they say Edgar said, you have sold all the properties of the kingdom, you've stolen all the kingdom land and things, my first reaction would be, but Edgar can't say that. That would be my first reaction. Until I actually confirm that Edgar said those things. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't know he's this uninformed. That way, you can overcome some of these things and the pain. It happens. In an office where I am, things are going to be said, done, that hurt. You must know that. Once you know that, you don't have to brood all the time. You don't have to be brood. You don't have to be gloomy. It comes with a job. It comes with a territory. I think that should be Orumberu Wavu by Afrigo Band. Orumberu Wavu by Afrigo Band. I think it's a very good song. Musically, it's very good. But also the message it sends out. Somebody is lamenting about his economic status, his economic state. He's not doing well. And I think when you listen to it, you've got to get out of bed and go and work. You've got to go out and work. Yeah. I think that will be Orumberu by Afrigo Band.